All right. Today I'm joined by one of the most produced playwrights in the world, Lauren Gunderson. From Book of Will to Exit Pursued by a Bear, you've probably seen her name on a playbill near you, and for good reason. Her brilliance in historical fiction and feminist storytelling has taken over the theater industry in the best way possible. And I'm so lucky to be chatting with her today. Lauren, how are you?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for that wonderful intro. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm so excited to be chatting with you. I've read luckily before I was even informed that we were doing an interview, I had to do very little research for this because I've read so much of your work prior, and
Oh,
I'm so pumped, and maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later, but, actually, I'm at my graduate program right now is doing Book of Will, so I was able to
love
see
it.
my first Lauren Gunderson play, like, a couple of days ago, which was so
I
cool to
love
be able to
that.
do.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That means so much.
No, of course. Everyone's been, like, talking about your name throughout the school, so I've been, like, casually dropping, "Well, I get to talk to her in a couple days." I've been really excited.
Oh, what a delight.
Well, I wanted to I that's one of the big things I wanted to talk about was, I mean, obviously, you're one of the most produced playwrights of the last 10 years, charting multiple times since 2015 as, like, one of the most produced playwrights and regionally all over the country. What do you think makes schools like WVU and regional theaters gravitate to your work so much to be producing it so often?
Hmm. I get asked that every now and then, and I have no very good answer except for I am writing the stuff that I want to see as an audience member, as a
Yeah,
theater lover. And that's really the only barometer I have or have ever had
yeah,
is writing the thing that I need, that I want, that I'm curious about, that I need to unpack and explore,
mhm,
and following that. Has always been the right kind of direction to follow. The compass always kind
yeah.
of points north for that, because I came to this as an audience member and a lover of theater, and you know what I mean. I also feel like I know the plays that have moved me the most,
Yeah.
and as an audience member, sitting there and thinking, I feel this wonderful combination, this clash of hope and pain and challenge and joy. And
Yeah.
I just try to emulate less the plays that made me feel that, but the feelings themselves, and bundle it in my own ridiculous, stupid humor or
No,
curiosities or whatever. So,
it's
you know,
amazing. Yeah, it makes me think a lot of, like, how your work spans so many genres. Like,
mm,
like I said, I just saw Book of Will and then Earthrise, your musical, like, they, like, explore these historical elements, and then you really look into, like, feminist storytelling with The Revolutionist or political with The Taming. Is there, like, a certain genre you enjoy most getting into, or is it more the story that you're trying to follow? Or
mm.
what excites you most about starting a new play?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always about where the comedy lives
Mhm.
because whether it's a drama or not, finding the comic voice a- and less for the jokes and the punchline, but more for the craft, the pacing, the sense of energy and intelligence that you have to do good comedy. And
Yeah,
I think what allows an audience to lean in is this laughter, is a sense of, okay, I'm safe in this place. We're having fun. And whether that turns on a dime into something really hard or challenging,
mhm.
scary, uh, that is the exact crux where we can see
Yeah,
theater do what it does best, which is you're going along and then suddenly you're in a space and thinking about a thing that you weren't seeing coming. And I think comedy does that better than anything. So whether it's a historical piece or an adaptation or something brand new, I mean, I think of my play Natural Shocks and Exit Pursued by a Bear, both about
yeah,
incredibly harsh, scary things, one domestic abuse, one gun violence and domestic abuse. And how on earth those become comedies was the question for me, because I am not interested in trauma on stage just to say, look, there's something awful in
absolutely.
the world on stage. I'm like, no, we know it's awful. We don't need it on stage. I need something more sophisticated, more surprising, more interesting to let me into the corners of whatever that subject is. So I think comedy does that really well.
Absolutely.
So the answer to the question is, where's the funny
Yeah,
in every subject? And often it is also the most human things that become the funniest. It's not, again, the punchline, the quick wit, the exit, devastating
Yeah.
exit line. It's those moments of humanity of going, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh gosh, that's my mom. Oh, that's my best friend and I. And
Yeah.
that again keeps it grounded in this very human place, which I think makes for great roles for actors who can really live in a role as opposed to just know how to hit their mark and say the
Yeah.
punchline. So yeah, that's my
No.
sense is always, where's the delight, where's the joy, where's the laugh, both on stage and off.
And it's so cool to see your work on stage because, again, like I said, I've read almost all of your work, and I love it to death, but this was the first time I got to see a Lauren Gunderson play on stage, and
Mm,
what you did with the Book of Will, I love so much because as a theater program here at West Virginia University, for example, we do multiple semesters of Shakespeare work, and I
mm,
could see all of these young actors in this play, or these, like, fellow grad students of mine getting to use a contemporary voice while exploring the history of this, like, guy from the 1600s that we, like, have learned so much about.
yeah,
And it's so cool because on top of that are is and I think at a lot of colleges and schools, a lot of the audience base are fellow students and not always
yeah.
theater majors or theater goers all the time. So it was really fun to watch a lot of audience members leave leave this show and have a really great understanding of who Shakespeare was and what he did from this, like, contemporary, funny, awesome play that was able to, like, tell that story. It's so cool that
Oh,
you're able to do that with history by finding that
thank
common
you.
base.
Thank you. I mean, the guiding principle for historical pieces for me, and also with adaptations of classic literature or reimaginings or iterations of the Jane Austen plays or whatever, is is finding that common humanity. I mean, I remember being in the rehearsals for the premiere of Book of Will and having this conversation that illuminated so much, which is, he's like, well, they lost the main characters, had a lot of kids, and only a couple survived into adulthood. And,
Yeah.
but that happened a lot. So it probably wasn't as sad as it would be now. And the director was like, no, no, no. No, no, no. Sorry. Losing a kid is losing a kid, whether
Yeah.
it's now, whether it's 400 years ago, whether it's 1,000 years ago. And if we can't see that common humanity across time, then we're doing this play wrong. So
Yeah.
the idea that the actors were totally right to say it was different back then, and yet it's not. And I
Mhm.
think that's the approach for all of these plays: is how are we like the women and the revolutionists at the cusp of the French Revolution, and how are
Yeah.
we like um, uh, Marie Curie 100 years ago, and of course Book of
Absolutely.
Will, those characters. That common humanity is what theater does, right? That's
Yeah.
what makes it livable and meaningful on stage.
Yeah, no, of course. I wanted to talk about something that I am so interested in when playwrights do. So I'm a big fan of lore. I love, like, really, like taking backgrounds or taking, like, pieces and really exploring them. I actually just got to talk to the Ride the Cyclone team and
Oh,
learn that
cool.
yeah, and learn that Jacob Richmond, who wrote the book, wrote, like, a prior play beforehand, and, like, Ride the Cyclone is technically, like, the second play of this, like, trilogy that he's creating.
Oh, cool.
And I had no idea that your Christmas show, Miss Benet Christmas at Pembury, is
Hmm.
has a companion piece called The
Yeah.
Wickens. It reminded me a lot of, like, Aaron Posner's No Sisters or, like, Ronan Noon's, Long Days, like, adaptation that he did, The Second Girl. Um, what was it like? Oh, and then also, I didn't even notice, I was told this by a producer, there's a third one that's, like,
Yes.
about to it's, like, it just got published and is about to be up for, like, being what is it like to write a
Yes.
companion piece? What made you wanna explore this world, like, even more?
Yeah. Well, so the Misspin Play started with this question that my co-writer Margot Melcon and
Mhm.
I always got, because she was a literary director at the theater that I worked at a lot here in the Bay Area
Yeah.
for a long time. And you always get the question of what to do during the holidays. What's something that's Christmassy but not too Christmassy,
Yeah,
something that everyone can go to when they're all together. And you get that question from so many regional theaters. And we sort of said,
absolutely.
well, why don't we write a thing that does exactly that, instead of accidentally does it, intentionally does it? And we kind of did it as a as like a joke, or just like a fun, like, oh, what would we do? Okay, we want it to be like, what are some nostalgia character, beloved characters? I mean,
Yeah,
they've done Dickens. Let's do Jane Austen. So what's our favorite? Pride and Prejudice. Okay, we'll use Pride and Prejudice. Okay,
yeah.
and then they mentioned Christmas in there, so we'll do it at Christmas. Okay, and well, what's the sister that we don't hear much of? Let's do the middle and Mary. Okay, and so we just kind of like whipped it up, and then had the absolute most wonderful fun, and were able to find something that puts so many women on stage, because Jane Austen does. And they are funny, and they are loving, and they are different. They are, very distinct from each other, but all cohesive. They have
Mhm.
such high stakes and drama. And it's just love, love, love. And there's a way to do it in the way that Jane Austen did, which is with savvy, with some cut to it. It's
Yeah.
not just sweetness and frosting. And so we really just had the absolute greatest time doing Miss Bennett. And then we're like, well, there's a couple of other sisters, so let's keep going. So the Wickhams is Lydia's story, which I love that love story. That one's going up at that we are very lucky to see so many productions every holiday season. It's one of my favorite things is watching all the pictures of all the
Yeah.
productions pop up on my feed. The Wickhams is, taking the a traditional structure of an Austen love story, but making it frankly about divorce, not about marriage, because we need to free our Lydia from Mr. Wickham.
Mhm.
And so it's a wonderful way to do that. And then Georgiana and Kitty is the third in the trilogy, which if you're going to do two, why not do three? So
Yeah.
we're done with them now. We're going to leave Pride and Prejudice alone. We're thank you so much, Jane Austen, and good night. But it's wonderful to go back to those same characters, and now we're seeing theaters who've done all three and are kind of starting over again. And
That's
it's
so
really
cool.
it's a wonderful another option for that holiday time. I'll take a Dickens, but this centers women in a bit more and is more of a love story than
Yeah.
a morality tale. And just we need options.
We just saw I wasn't able to go, but, I'm based in West Virginia, and City Theater just did it for their Christmas show, and when I saw
Yep.
it pop up, I was like, "What a great idea from a playwright is, like, writing a piece that is, like, tailored for, like, the holiday season, so people don't have to continue doing the same couple shows," even those shows are done wonderfully, giving options, but now creating this, like, big canon where people can do these, like, big overarching stories. That's so fun because, like, I know having been here for 3 years, you find the regional theaters near you that you love. So,
Yeah.
like, when those theaters find, like, things that they can do that connect to past seasons is just so fun. That is
Yeah.
a blast. Oh, that's awesome.
It's wonderful. We love it. Every time we'd get into a premiere, it would be just the joy of going, "Oh, I'm so excited. I get to hang out in this world for a month and a half."
That's so
What
awesome.
a dream.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Okay, there's another project that I wanted to
Yes.
ask you about because it seemed sick, and I couldn't find a lot on it, so I did, like, this long hours-long deep dive when I should have been writing my thesis, and I was not, and instead, I was looking into your show that you wrote with Kiergan and Loudermilk.
Mhm.
Okay, so many questions. So you wrote this musical called Justice about the first 3 women on the Supreme Court. It's written
Yeah.
by 2 of my favorite composers in the world. I love
Same.
them so much, and I know you've worked with them, I think, multiple times.
Yes, yes,
Um,
thankfully.
I haven't been able to find too much, but the concept is amazing. The music, I'm, like, obsessing over on YouTube. It's crazy. I wanted to know, like, what the process was immortalizing these three's legacy in government, like, in this
Mhm.
show, and also what made you make the decision to do a musical? Was it something you 3 because I know you guys have worked together before. Did you guys come up with the idea together, or were you, like, working on it and go, like, "I think this is a musical," and reached out to them? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, I love Bree and Kate so much.
Mhm.
They are, I think, some of the best, if not the best, musical theater writers contemporary working right now.
Yeah.
And so I've been lucky to work with them on various different. They did Earthrise with me. We've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
Justice. Bree and I did musicals before that, and are developing one now. Kate and I worked on Time Traveler's Wife together.
I
So
was gonna
there's
ask you about that
so
at the end.
much.
It looks so cool. That's in London right now, right?
Yes, yes,
That's
yes, yes.
awesome.
Yeah. So, Justice was a really interesting project because we wanted to do this, a bit of a hat trick of something
Mhm.
small, brainy, something you don't see a lot of musicals about, the
Yeah.
Supreme Court, but also just three women, and frankly, three women who are older than our ingenues, than our usual women that we see on stage. So that combination led us to this subject. It was a commission from Arizona Theater Company when Sean
Mhm.
Daniels was leading it, because Sandra Day O'Connor is from Arizona. And
Yeah.
so she's kind of the icon of Arizona. And that was the State Theater of Arizona. So anyway, I was like, great. Well, I will write about O'Connor if we can also write about Ginsburg, because that to me starts to be a portrait of America, and how
Absolutely.
we have these women with different backgrounds coming together as the first women on the Supreme Court, and then how that changes when Sonia Sotomayor comes on, and of course, leading up to the kind of historic moment with Justice Jackson's confirmation, which of course happened while we were premiering the musical,
That's
which was
crazy.
absolutely wild and wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a beautiful, tight jewel of a musical that tries to talk about some of the more contentious, but also the kind of beautiful and exciting things about the American justice system. But like, what a
Yeah.
time to be writing about the Supreme
I
Court.
know.
No, very low stakes right now. Nothing important going on at the
Nothing
court, of
important.
course. But it is an example of kind of one of the joys of being a playwright and a writer of musicals is getting to do those deep dives in subjects that I would have had no curiosity about until writing something about it. And then you become a minor, annoying, obnoxious expert in this thing. And it opened my eyes. It was such a good experience just as a citizen of this complex country to
Yeah.
dive into that world and try to tell the story and to try to understand what is hopeful about it. Again, this hope, this question of what can we take away that makes us want to keep fighting, keep learning, and keep going. So,
Absolutely. I want to take something you said to lead into my final question of this interview. I think you are the best playwright alive right now at deep diving into a subject and like really, really getting into some type of history or some type of topic and putting it on the stage in a really entertaining way where
oh,
it's like
thank you.
the true like balance of entertainment and educational. I think it's so
Hmm.
impressive. So usually at the end of interviews, I like to pry my little hands in and try to figure out something that no one else knows. So I just want to know, and it doesn't have to be a real project either. Is there any historical event or person that you're currently like thinking about centering a show around, or someone that you've just always been like, this is something that I really desperately want to do? Because it just, I love looking at all of, I feel like I'm taking a history class when I'm looking through your website, and it's so cool because I don't hate it and it's like so enjoyable. So I'm wondering if
Yeah.
there's anything that you've been like really, really gearing up for, something you really want to hit.
I mean, the truth is, well, I can't walk into a bookstore without wanting to adapt every nonfiction book I see. I have to stop reading nonfiction at times because I'll go one chapter in and go, oh God, it's a play. It's starting. Oh no, stop it.
I can
So
only imagine Lauren Gunderson walking into a Barnes& and Noble is, like, great.
it's
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 wild.
it's my happy place, but
I was gonna
also like
say, yeah.
beware, this is the next years of your life. As far as scientists go, I am incredibly obsessed with Rachel Carson.
Mhm.
Her estate is very tough about her story being told.
Yeah,
So I'm slowly, working my way into their good graces.
yeah,
But I think her story is incredibly important in all of the ways. Um, as a woman scientist, as a very private woman. Her
mhm,
relationship with her nephew is so beautiful.
yeah,
Her relationship and understanding of the natural world, especially at this time, and the fact that she was, fighting a very aggressive cancer while testifying into Congress to stop DDT and poisonous
yeah.
chemicals in the world, and won and changed America.
It's amazing.
I find her incredibly moving, and her writing is so lusciously, beautifully poetic,
Yeah.
especially for books about science. So that's my secret love. Is it an opera? Is it a musical? Is it a play? I don't know.
That's
But
so
I
it's
can also
so
just appreciate it and not have to make a play out of it, but it feels like it should be.
No, of course, absolutely. I feel like one of the greatest gifts someone could get you for a holiday or something like that is just a random nonfiction book that they're like, "I really think you're gonna like this," because who knows? It could become a
You
play. I
could.
have no idea. But
You could.
Lauren, seriously, it was so much fun chatting with you. It was
Oh, likewise.
it was such a blast. I mean, if you haven't heard of Lauren Gunderson, bananas, but go check out all of her stuff, all of her plays. If you're in the West Virginia area, come see Book of Will. But it's seriously, it's been so amazing chatting, putting a face to the brilliant, brilliant playwright that I've been able to
Oh,
look up to for so long.
thank you so much. Thank you for the questions, for your time and enthusiasm, and for all you do in the theater and for writers and other theater makers. Such a delight to talk.